Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayer podcast. We are on, whoops, my candle fell. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us on iTunes right now, please go and leave a 5-star review. It can be funny, it can be silly, whatever it is. I will be reading the best reviews every week so long as they are 5 stars. Quick shout out to our sponsor, Cushy Dreams. If you've heard the podcast, you've heard me talk about these guys. They are basically the premier place to go for luxury pre-roll joints and extraordinary smokable flower. This is CBD, guys. So you can have a couple puffs. You're not going to go out to lunch mentally. If you're one of these people who was kind of sensitive to weed, but you still want to get the benefits of CBD, you still want to get that relaxation, that clear-mindedness, I highly recommend Cushy Dreams. They have so many different blends of indica, sativa, like I call them different flavors, that basically help you, get where you want to go. Relax, dream, energy, relax, create, hustle. I'm a big fan of the pre-rolls. I just have a couple pulls. I feel cool. I have a couple pulls and I feel immediately my mind and body are so relaxed, and it makes such a big difference. So if you guys go to cushydreams.com and use the promo code CMP, you're going to get 20% off your order plus free shipping. What's better than that? I don't know. I know what's better than that. Stand-up dates. Yes. I'm doing stand-up. I'm doing it at a town near you. The next big show we're doing is Comedians of the Compound on March 20th. That's at Tiff's Ale House in Morris Plains, New Jersey. Then Florida, I'm coming to you. I'm going to be at the Boca Black Box Theater April 30th, the Lake Park Black Box Theater in Palm Beach, Florida. May 1st, then May 2nd, Side Splitters in Tampa. Then I'm going to be in OKC, Oklahoma City, the Bricktown Comedy Club, Sunday, May 9th. Then Comedians of the Compound are heading to Austin, Texas, May 14th and 15th. Then on the 18th of May, I'll be at Zany's in Nashville. On the 19th of May, I'll be at Stand Up Live in Huntsville, Alabama. And then June 3rd, I'll be at Cleveland. All my Ohio peeps, come see me at Hilarities in Cleveland. Go to ChrissieMayer.com for tickets and details. And if you want to see me do stand-up in a town I have not mentioned, tweet at me. Don't send me dick pics, but you know what I mean? Like, hit me up. I'm very accessible. Send me a message, and I will answer it. I will chat. If you want to complain about your boyfriend, I'm available for that too. Other quick shout out to our other sponsor is Lucy.co. Lucy Nicotine is a company founded by Caltech scientists and former smokers looking for a better and cleaner nicotine alternative. Finally, tobacco alternatives that don't suck. These products were researched and developed for 3 years to be made for people, not patients. Lucy has created a nicotine gum with 4 milligrams of nicotine that comes in 3 fabulous flavors: wintergreen, cinnamon, and pomegranate. They also have a lozenge in a cherry ice flavor. And I've tried each and every one. They taste fabulous. They're convenient, discreet, can be enjoyed anywhere, on the go, at the gym. So it's 2021, guys. It's time to get rid of your cigarettes, unplug your vape, throw out your dip, and get you some Lucy nicotine gum or lozenges. A subscription to Lucy comes directly to your door each and every month. It's so simple. You don't have to leave your house. For all my CMP listeners, go to lucy.co and use the promo code CMP. You're going to get 20% off all products, including gum or lozenges. That's lucy.co. And use the promo code CMP at checkout. And I must give this warning. Ooh, this product contains nicotine derived from tobacco, and nicotine is an addictive chemical. You know what else is addictive? Savings. That's right, guys. Go to lucy.co. Get your delicious gums. Speaking of delicious, this next guest is quite delicious. If you like a thirst trap, I highly recommend his Instagram, Chris Willax. But more importantly, he is the host of the Modern Wisdom podcast, which I think it's blowing the charts away in the UK. I think at one point it was like number 22, highly, highly ranked. Welcome to the stage, Chris Williamson. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, thanks. Thanks for coming on, and thank you for dealing with my needing to like bump you back, move you forward. You're very, I feel like I might need your services as far as time management goes, because we were talking before the podcast started, you do not like the term life coach. You would not identify as a life coach. However, your articles, your content is all stuff that helps people to have a better, more productive, more fulfilled life.
Yeah, I think you're right, but that's maybe a little bit more of a comment on how useless most people are, myself included, as opposed to necessarily how talented I am at it.
That's true. Tell me how you kind of got into doing this podcast. You seem like one of these people who's just kind of naturally, like myself, interested in psychology, kind of like human perform. I say this now, having not gone to a gym. Like I don't even know in how long. It's something I got to get back on. But I've always been kind of fascinated with the link between productivity and fitness, and like it's all so connected, right? So has this been something you've always kind of had an affinity for, or is it just something that you kind of grew into as you got older?
So my background is a bit non-typical, I guess, for a podcaster. Well, maybe not. I went to uni, started being a club promoter. So I own the biggest events company in the UK, which is Voodoo Events. We run student club nights. I did reality TV, so I was on the first season of Love Island. I was the first person through the doors of Love Island. I've done other...
That's great.
I know. Other dating shows as well. So Blue Tick on Twitter, Free Charcoal Toothpaste, like all the big stuff. And then a couple of years after that was just like, what am I doing? Why have I ended up going to parties with other reality TV people who I can say about 3 words to, and then I kind of just feel a bit disconnected? And got invited on a couple of shows, really enjoyed it, and thought I'll start my own. And then, 3 years later and a few million downloads, and Jordan Peterson's coming on next month. And
yes, I saw. Congrats.
Yeah, cool.
Ooh. He's like my big fish too. I feel like if I had him on of course I would love to have him on my podcast, but I feel like once I had him, I'd be like, oh my God. Like
it's having sex with that 10 out of 10 from the last like decade of stalking them on the internet, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And like that 10 out of 10. Yeah. The 10 out of 10 is like the dad you never had, giving you all the life advice you never got. It's like having sex with the guy who finally told you to make your bed and get your shit together.
Do you think Jordan Peterson's got sex appeal? I don't really see it being spoken about that much.
Confidence is always very sexy, and he's sexy without trying to. He definitely is not trying to be sexy. I mean, like, his Instagram could use a little help. He could use a little, you know what I mean? He could use to know his angles, but
come and talk to me, Jordan.
Yeah, I think you could give him some tips. I think he is sexy in the way that like he's smart, and he's confident. He's kind of like he feels how he feels. He's he's not kind of like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I think just like a strong sense of self-awareness. And of course he's actually obviously very brilliant. All that together for me, it makes like a sexy package. Like, are you going to look at him and be like, oh man, he's so hot? Maybe not, but I don't know, his accent is cute. And I also just love like what he's brought into the world. So would I have sex with that? Sure.
Up though, right?
Yeah.
One of
Jordan,
the things that he
listening.
talks about is he says that that competence is attractive. Says that people should try and be as good as they can at a number of different things, because that's what's going to make you attractive and popular. And a lot of the time, I think guys, especially young guys, they look to the surface level, like the most easy, or what they presume to be the most easy to achieve measures of success. So like, I'll get the fast car and that'll get me bitches, or I'll get big muscles and that'll get me bitches, or fake teeth in Turkey, or a new hairline in like...
Wait, wherever. Fake teeth in Turkey? Is that where they're giving out fake teeth?
If you're in Europe and you need a new hairline, a hair transplant, or some veneer teeth that are slightly too big for your mouth, go to Turkey.
Oh my gosh. I should ask Jeremy Piven if that's where he got his new hairline. Maybe the next stand-up show I see him at. No,
one of my friends flew over there and had like dick injections. Had some sort of PCC, some type of, they take blood, they spin it up in the centrifuge, and then they inject it into your penis.
Wow. I can't tell you the last time I had a dick injection. No, but this is crazy to me because I've talked to porn stars who they'll shoot like Viagra or something like in their dick on set, you know, if they're having trouble. But this sounds like something a lot more complicated.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't know whether you go and you get like a triple decker discount, you get the hair, the teeth, and the penis all in one. I'm not sure how it works.
Because, right, guys think if I get the hair, the teeth, the penis, the fast car, okay, that's nice. But girls are the same way. Like we'll chase these superficial goals, and it's just, I feel like it's tricky because this actually leads perfectly because you've written a piece about overcoming jealousy, and what people don't realize is that they see the surface, the Instagram. Like we're all victims of this at one point. Like I'll just be like, how much time have I spent scrolling? You know. And it's so easy for us to like look on the surface and see, oh man, like this person looks like they have it all. But exactly, you're not seeing people's darkest moments. Like you're not like, if you were to look on my Instagram, would you see that I like barely got out of bed at 10 a.m. this morning? No, you would be like, oh, this is from a show she went to, or this was a clip from something that was funny or whatever. Like people aren't showing you like, I'm constipated today. You know what I mean? Like, so you're all about like, think that this concept that you introduced that's fascinating to me is like people don't realize like you have to pay a price to be somebody, like paying the price to be Elon Musk. Is that something that like you truly would be prepared to do? Like when you see a model, like are you prepared to live that life? Like because that's the result of hours in the gym every day. And I think when people become jealous of comedians, like they don't realize it's like I've had to live like a very unglamorous life for the last 10-ish, 12 years. Like they see people on stage and they go, oh, wow, look at all, you're getting all that attention, or wow, you got this TV thing, or wow, you're interviewing this person on your podcast, you know, because of this famous comedian, Doug Stanhope or Jim Norton. It's like, but what they don't see is like so many nights of just like crawling around New York City at like 2, 3 in the morning, or like you miss trains. You're just like eating, like you're like not having meals. You're just like eating out of your bag. You just like run across town. You miss your set. Like they're not seeing the years, the grit, the work that it takes to get there. And I think if people did comprehend that somehow, they would be less likely to be jealous.
Life would look a lot less glamorous if Instagram was inverted. So if you had like Invertstagram, and it was all of the low lights. So it was like that time when you couldn't get it up, that time when your period came on one day earlier than you thought, and you had to go meet somebody, and da. So a perfect example of this is Tiger Woods. So if you look at Tiger Woods within the domain of golf, he's phenomenal. Like he's the GOAT. He's an absolute world champion. But in order to be Tiger Woods at golf, you need to be Tiger Woods at everything else as well, because his golf ability is a manifestation of all of the other shit that he does in his life, right? So you don't get to take part of someone's life without having the whole. So you're right to say about during the come up toward a particular situation, these are the sacrifices that I have to make. But even during the come up, while you're there, there's a lot of sacrifices that are still carried in as a part of what has made you so good. So look at Tiger Woods. Like his dad, when he was a kid, would abuse him racially, would call him the N-word, would do like, it would be child abuse.
I had no idea. Oh my God.
It's like, it would be 100% called child abuse now. His dad would tell him that he was never going to be accepted by these white people because he was a black kid playing on a white course. He was useless. He was this, that, and the other. They even had a safe word. So like people do during rough sex. Him and
pajamas.
It was called the E word. And they said, look, all you need to do if you want me to stop abusing you, just say the E word and I'll stop. And he never once said it. And the E word was enough. And he never, ever once said it during his childhood. So you think, okay, you see Tiger Woods winning all of these trophies and making the like world records, getting Nike sponsorships, all the rest of it. But what was the price to be Tiger Woods? Like, would you go through an entire childhood of insufficiency and abuse and all the rest of it, and then look at the other things that he's still paying the price for now? Like the most public infidelity that anyone's ever seen, being chased down his driveway by his wife with a golf club or whatever it was, and the press are taking photos. He's recently been in a car accident. He got a DUI for being asleep at the wheel while he was on medication. So all of these things are the price that he has to pay for success in a very narrowly defined domain. But because we, as a society, we're a meritocracy, right? Like you are your successes. You are what you achieved in life. And because we applaud success so much, it means that we're happy for someone to be abused as a kid and have an awful marriage and all the rest of this stuff, as long as he keeps on sinking putts. As long as he's an absolute killer in this one domain, we kind of almost forget about the other stuff. But yeah, that's the price to be Tiger Woods. It's an ugly life.
Wow. And it's like, doesn't that make humanity look sort of cruel? Like, yes, golf for me, like it's so easy for us to like, I was about to say like dance for me,
dance.
But yeah, I was like, well, maybe not in the Tiger Woods example. No, fine. It's like, but it's like as humanity, it's like how, I mean, what does that say about us that we're kind of able to collectively separate like the guy from the talent? But we do that with everything. Like we do that with models, we do that with like musicians, like same thing. Like people are like, oh man, like Artie Lang is one of the greats, but like what he must struggle with, like it's
well, you must see this with
everything.
Comedians as well, right? Because comedians are pretty famous for utilizing personal suffering in their acts. I think Tim Dillon talks about this like a lot, where so much of the comedy that he gets is like it's like an existential pressure release valve. You know what I mean? It's like he's got this discomfort and these awful stories, and the way he deals with them is his comedy. But that doesn't stop the fact being that you have to go through the awfulness to get the comedy.
Yeah, it almost seems like the awful stuff you go through is like, oh wow, this is like ended up being really great material. But at the time, like, and the thing is, like, the folks who tend to really go into stand-up comedy and pursue it, it's like, it's not that just you like attention. It's like it's something else. It's like I got into stand-up because I didn't feel like I could talk to my family about like my real feelings, and like I didn't feel like I was being heard. I didn't feel like I was like cared about emotionally. Like, yeah, my parents were really great at like keeping us fed, keeping a roof over your head. And you're like, oh, but I just never felt listened to or heard. Like if I had any kind of a complaint about anything growing up, like, oh, it's too cold. Yeah, throw on a sweater. Nobody cares what you think. You're like, oh, like, why aren't you hanging any of my drawings up? And it's like, what do you, like, we're not going to put tape on the wall. Like my dad was super strict, like German. So I don't know. But as a kid, like these are just, we all have little like survival tactics and like tweaks that we make to just get along. Cause you're like, okay, well, anybody. And then and I hate saying like I wasn't abused. Like I talk about this time, like my dad threw a chair at me like once. He got mad, but he missed. And like the joke I make of it is like, he missed, I'm doing great. Like, but sometimes when I say that in front of a crowd, they're just like, oh shit. They're like, do we need to call somebody? And I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. And then you look back, you're like, no, it really wasn't fine. Like no 8-year-old deserves a dining room chair thrown at their head. But that is how you like make sense of it, is through humor. And it's like, so like the people who tend to go into stand-up, it's like you feel like you need to, like I felt like I needed to express myself or else I was gonna like explode. And for me, like the safety, I felt safest in front of a group of strangers because the stakes are so low. It's like you'll never see these people again. But it seems so opposite, right? It's like you're unleashing kind of your most private stuff, veiled. Sometimes it's very, barely thinly veiled as a joke. Sometimes it's you just straight up say honest shit on stage. And sometimes you can craft it like, okay, this is half a joke, half exaggeration, or like half real life. It seems so backwards that like I would feel most comfortable in front of strangers than I would like people I've known my whole life. But that's, I think, the common thread of like all comics. And when people say like, oh, who are you to joke about this or that? It's like, this is my fucking life. Like, this is how I cope with it. And a big reason why I love comedy is like, if I can sort of make fun of myself on stage about something kind of tragic or bad, like my mom dying or something, which I'm still working on jokes for that. Well, then like the point of it is like I'm making people in the crowd feel less bad about their lives or what they're struggling with. It's kind of like I'm the example of you can make fun of yourself, into a better situation. If that makes sense.
Do you know Daniel Sloss, Scottish guy?
No.
Okay, so he's a Scottish comedian. He had a couple of Netflix specials, and he's done one on HBO as well. He's a good buddy of mine. And
I should know him.
his first special was about his sister who died when she was 7, and his second one was about his female best friend who was sexually assaulted. And the entire thing builds up to this. And you're right, like there is like this sort of, I don't know, taboo almost sort of sensation that goes around it. But do you think it's made you, opening yourself up like that on stage, do you think that it's forced you to hold, or has it made you hold on to your opinions less strongly? Because one of the things that I imagine must happen is you actually realize just how fallible and kind of how dumb and silly we all are. And look, I don't really know me. I don't know what I should be doing. Maybe my opinion about absolutely everything is wrong. So did you kind of, by having to let go of that sense of self on stage and let go of the ego, has it also made you sort of less possessive around your opinions on other things, like just normal conversations?
Yes. That's so that's such an interesting question. Like, yes, overall it does. Cause I feel like as a comic, like your strength is in your observation skills. So it's like, and even as a kid, I was very good at picking up on like, when your parents are mad at you or like, oh, my sister's like in a really tough place emotionally, like just
better make a joke out of it.
Picking up on mind reading. Oh yeah. My mom and dad would get into a fight. Like they'd split off. My dad would just like disappear. And then I would end up just being with my mom, my sister and I, and then we would like go to the mall or go get an ice or like a latte or something. And I found out very quickly, like, oh, if I could make her laugh, like, well, then I'm helping her kind of forget about that fight. But what would have been great as a kid would be to hear your parents like constructively working out an argument or talking about how each other should be treated, but to learn early on, like, okay, my value in being a person is through my sense of humor. So let me like jack that up as high as I can because I want to be of the most good to my mom or whatever. So in one sense, yes, you hold on to you're more loose with your opinions, but your jokes are kind of like a little bit of a stencil in time. It's a little bit of like a stamp, because like, yeah, this 10-minute bit I have about like getting a Brazilian wax. It's like, I wrote it at a time when I was like much sluttier and kind of like single and just like all your jokes are like, it's a little stamp in time. And like, that's your job that's also who you were. Right. And your job is to make all of your material fresh and brand new for each crowd, but also fresh for you and to the person that you are right now. So it's like, of course I can still do my jokes about being slutty, but it's like through this newer Chrissie filter, I guess. And that's
so
like
interesting.
When the jokes feel stale is when I'm not doing that. Like if I'm telling a joke the same way I did like 5-8 years ago, it's like, all right, I think the audience can feel the staleness because I'm not bringing it into the now.
Do you not think it's something really interesting that if you don't have an outlet like comedy or a podcast or writing or even like a Twitter feed that you take seriously or art, anything, if you don't have that, it's really difficult to actually track how you change over time. I always said it would be awesome if someone could make an invention that allowed you to take little snapshots of how your mind was. So imagine the mental space that you were in 5 years ago. And you could just go back, like your memories appear on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. And you could go back and see the sort of thoughts that took up your consciousness 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And you'd be like,
that's interesting.
I can't believe that at the front of my existence was this thing. Like I journal, and I went back and had a look at one of them from 5 years ago. I run club nights. That's what my main job is, or was before there was a pandemic. And I remember I wrote down in like the private journal, the one that's password protected, something had happened, and then bottom half of it was the R&B DJ MC that talks over the mic in room 2 of the Saturday night that we ran was leaving. And I was scared that this was going to be the downfall of the business. And oh my God, this is the start of the catastrophe. I don't even know if we have a guy that is on the mic in room 2 on our Saturday night anymore now. Like, so being able to see that transition and being able to think like, God, look at how neurotic I was. Look at how like weird and juvenile and like stupid my worldview was, and then look at where I am now. But by having the comedy, by having the podcast, by having the writing or the art or anything else, you have to cement what is like it's a notion, right? In your head, it's just this sort of sense, this kind of cloud, and then you have to make it into a thing. It's a thing that has form that you can reference and you can go back to. Yes. And I think a lot of people would really benefit and feel good in terms of their growth if they were able to see just how much better their mind is now than it was 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. But without the outlet, you don't have those stakes in the ground or like the sediments in the rock, you know, like archaeologists do. You've got the slutty Chrissie phase, then like the slightly less slutty Chrissie phase, then the this phase, then the that phase. You need an outlet so that you can see that.
And I even feel like my whole life, other than being a kid, but like my whole adult life, been always like I would buy journals, but then I ultimately come back to this place of like I'm afraid to journal. Like I'm just a paper journal that scares the shit out of me because it's like you're gonna hand someone, like someone could find it, and then all your secrets are in there, and then all the shit that you're like figuring out a nice way to say is just there in its blunt form, and that is so scary to me. But it's like I've also never done that. Apparently you use like a computer like journal that's password protected. That sounds like a good move, but that's bad. Like you shouldn't be afraid to journal. Like that's a good outlet. But that just speaks to my like, maybe that's another like intimacy fear or something. Cause it's like you store so much up because you're like to let something out in its blunt form. Well, that's only going to hurt somebody's feelings. So
yeah, it's interesting what that says. There's I had a guy called David Allen on the show who's like the grandfather of productivity. And he has this quote where he says, the mind is built for having thoughts, not holding thoughts. And that let go, get it out of your head. That's why to-do lists are good, right? Like your mind is a pretty good decision maker, but a shitty library. And you want to try and have things written down where you can. You want a to-do list, you want a nice little journal. And Jordan Peterson's new book that he's got coming out, which I'm reading as quickly as possible. Is it rule number 10 in that book where he says, if things still make you cry, write them down? And it's because your mind is a good decision maker, but a shitty library. So yeah, getting stuff out of your head. If someone wants to start journaling, I recommend just get any paper journal and start writing a couple of pages on a morning. Makes you feel good.
Yeah, actually, like my sister sent me this. It's like God, it's somewhere because I just moved recently. But it's actually a 5-year journal, and it's got like every date on it, so you can flip back to like what was I thinking 5 years ago today or 3 years. It's exactly what you're saying. Cool. But like that's the thing is like, are we always so honest in our journals? You know, like do we at all? I would sometimes I would like write like, oh, if somebody were to find this, it wouldn't be. But that's so bad. That's like you're already filtering yourself.
Well, the other thing sometimes is you write what you want you to say. You try and become the best version of you and then write that down in a journal. And you're like, hang on, I'm supposed to be writing this for me. How am I, like, who am I kidding?
Yeah.
Am I kidding myself? Like, I know that I wrote it. I know that I didn't mean to write that thing. Like, yeah, it's so bizarre, but you get better. You get better as you do it more.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, I should be sounding very eloquent and I should write this whole paragraph about like the meaning of life and creation. It's like, no, bitch, you've been obsessing about the area under your belly button, like that little fat pouch for like 4 months. That has been your primary thoughts. But you're not going to just write that across 5 pages. I don't even know what it's called.
No, I don't either. So I can't help you with that one. Sorry.
It's something that if it were to get bigger, it would become a fupa. That I know. And that is what keeps me in check, I guess.
Is that your major fear in life?
Major fear in life. No, because like I was an athlete as a kid and through college, so it's like I know if I get back into a schedule, like you know, you like whatever,
Tumble
and
back
it's
into
nothing
it, yeah.
crazy. Like I'm probably maybe I'm like 8 to 10 pounds more than I should be, but it's like you know what I mean. Like you kind of get caught in these like literally I'll look at Instagram. I don't know if it's being jealous of them, but it's like, oh bitch, you should be putting in more time. Like you should be trying to look the best you can instead of like focusing on your podcast or like tidying up or like doing your fucking taxes. I don't know.
There's an interesting thing to be said there, though, that kind of goes back to the jealousy thing and viewing people for their successes. You can't do everything. Like you literally can't be everything. And the sacrifices that Elon Musk is another good example. Like we don't know if Elon Musk can't bear to put his head on the pillow when he goes to sleep at night, or if he hasn't had an erection in 6 months, or if he can't bear to look at himself in the mirror. Like we don't know this thing, and we're never going to find that out. So when we're talking about trying to be great at, I should be in the best shape of my life whilst being a comedian that tours all over the place and does the podcast and does this thing, like you have to make sacrifices. There's only so many hours in the day. And I think sometimes, especially like coming from a bit of a productivity background in that world, there are people who just presume that they can add new shit into their life and that they'll upregulate their work rate, the pace and the speed that they do their stuff at to just fit it in. It's like, oh, well, I'll just like sleep less or work harder. And you're like, well, are you not probably already working close to the ceiling of what you do? Because most people want to do as much stuff as they can do. And if you had spare room, you would have already put something in. So then when I see my friends who are just adding more and more projects on top, it inevitably ends up with them just diluting down the quality of the work that they're already doing. And
Yeah.
this,
Oh, multi-goal syndrome, right? Like you're working on 6 things, but each of these things is not moving ahead very far. Because I used to take this, it was like a goal setting class for creative types. There were like actors and comedians in there. It's called the Path class. And it was like, it was good because they gave you a binder and it was a way for you to like map out like what is my year-long goal? And then what is my 6-month goal? And then you had maybe like 4 or 5 different categories of life that you could pick from. But that kind of started to freak me out too. Like it's so easy to just get home, you put the binder away and like never look at it again. But then I would take it out 3 years later and I'd be like, oh, I fucking crushed these 2. And then these other ones I ignored. Yeah, I think I struggle with like an accountability thing. Like I'll go to bed at night thinking, I'm going to wake up. Tomorrow's going to be the day. I'm going to do all these things. And then it's so easy to just be like, ugh. You know, it's hard to kick your own ass. It's easy to just fall into. Like, what do you think are the biggest hangups people have, or like biggest roadblocks people have in reaching their own like highest productivity?
phone use is probably for most people number one. That you just have this device in your pocket which is got billions and billions of dollars and a couple of thousand of the smartest behavioral scientists on the planet, and an algorithm that literally the people that wrote it don't understand how it works. And all of these things have come together. They're behind every single click and swipe and press in an effort to try and keep you on screen. So if people want to reduce their phone time, just charge your phone outside of your bedroom. Don't have a time that you use it before on a morning and don't have a time that you use it after on a night. It's basically intermittent fasting and keeping the cookies in the jar, but you do it for your phone.
Ooh, I love the idea of charging. And I've heard like it's good to charge your phone outside of your bedroom because it just, you're keeping those like electromagnetic waves away from you. Like it helps.
This is just behavioral. I'm not sure about that.
Soundly. I've heard that.
I've got no idea about that. This is so you don't roll over and watch funny cat videos on YouTube until 3 a.m. That's why. Because you can ruin tomorrow before tomorrow's even begun if you use your phone on a night. Yeah. And you know, like you're in bed and you're struggling to sleep and you think, you know that the phone's there next to you. There's this study done. I had Adam Alter on the show recently and he did a lot of sort of behavioral research into people's phone use. I think it was more than 50% of adults said that their phone is within arm's reach for 24 hours a day. And the only thing I could think there was like, I'm surprised that number isn't higher. Like for the most part, until I started putting it out of the room and doing other bits and pieces. But yeah, just sleep with your phone outside of your bedroom. Don't use it before a time on a morning, like 9 o'clock or midday, and then don't use it after a time on a nighttime, like 8 p.m. But you can't use it that much if you've got these little guardrails up. So that would be one. Another one would definitely be sleep. I think we're only just really recently getting out of the Gary V hustle and grind mentality where 4 to 5 hours sleep a night is no longer glorified, and people know that you can actually perform better if you sleep more and you're just a little bit more intentional. So people not sleeping enough. But as you've said, also having a changeable wake time is not fantastic either. You want to try and go to bed and get up at the same time. But if you're a working comedian who's traveling all over the place, or a club promoter like myself who's getting in at 4 a.m. 3 nights a week or 4 nights a week, you're basically working shifts. It's the British Health Association identified any type of shift work as a health risk now. So if you're if you work as a fireman or as a doctor or as a taxi driver, any of those things are seen as a health risk, because that's how bad having an inconsistent sleep and wake cycle is for your health. So phone use and sleep, I think, would be two big ones. But then you get into the stuff that you talked about there, like what's the big broad goal you want to do in your life? Well, most people don't have any idea about that. I don't know what I want out of life. Like who knows what they want? And then most people don't even know what they want to want. You're like, okay, so let's say that I strip away all the programming and the things that my parents told me that I should do, and the societal norms and the way I deal with past traumas and the fact that I just love wine and chocolate and Netflix. Let's get rid of all that. Then what do I want to want? And you're like, well, I still don't know. Even if I was a blank slate, I still don't have a clue about what it is that I want from life. So what a lot of people should spend their time doing is working out what their core values are. Like, what are the things that you are here on this planet to try and enjoy in yourself? So is it curiosity? Is it adventure? Is it self-development? Is it travel? Is it excellence? Is it any of these things? Is it family? Is it legacy? Is it learning? Is it whatever? Like, those things basically form the roots towards whatever the tree is that goes on top of it. But we don't get taught that in school. We don't get taught that. You can go through an entire 18-year full-time education with a bachelor's and a master's in and never hear core values once. And yet they're the thing that all of our life's based upon. So yeah, there's basically, I think there's just an awful lot that people need to do to try and have a enjoyable, successful, flourishing life. And that's why I think there's a big hunger for it at the moment, because religion's gone, tradition's gone, like living for family is gone, all that stuff's gone. Women now have to actually make a really difficult decision between, do I want to have a family? Do I want to have a career? Like previously, as much as it's great that everyone now has choices, it was a lot easier in a sense because the choices were constrained when you just stuck to your traditional roles. And the same for men. Should men stay at home with the kids? Should we do more paternity leave or maternity leave? Should I do this or that? Should I have career? Is it like not good for me to have a career? Should we stay in the relationship? Should we leave? The more choices you have, sometimes it makes things harder. So it doesn't surprise me that people need the world of productivity and self-growth and development and stuff like that to try and make sense of it.
It's so funny because it's like what you were saying about our phones, like billions of dollars have put in this tech, this like attention sucking tech. But then at the same time, there's the industry of like productivity and like, I don't know, self-care, I'm going to call it the umbrella of self-help, right? Also a huge money-making industry. And it's like almost like they're at odds with each other. And it's pretty fascinating because I felt like I got my education like really through myself and my own reading, like from a kind of a young age, like probably 20s, I started to really gravitate more towards like self-help books. Like I'd read like Gabrielle Bernstein. I'd read like The Secret. I read it because I came at it from more of like a kooky, like new age angle. And then I started to learn like the deeper like meaning of like manifesting, and then like fucking prayer is real. Like, you know, like spend a lot of time aiming and then like shoot once. I don't know. I think I'm mixing up a lot of inspirational memes together, but everyone kind of comes into it from a different angle. And then like you have Gary V people, or maybe people like that follow you, that they get into this more, like I just want to improve my life, or like I have these like goals and like I'm very regimented about it. And maybe I came from like this classically like low self-esteem female place, but it ultimately I'm here and it's great. And now I'm just like, now I'm like wow, like now I'm interested in reading about different alien species and like metaphysical shit and going beyond all that. So I don't know, it's been kind of like an interesting journey, but I love so much what you say about like figure out what your core values are. Like if you're thinking like, I don't know what to do with my life, I think a really smart place is to start from the values and also like what brings you joy, like what makes you feel so good, like what makes you feel the most alive. And I think that's a good place to start. It's a good indicator. You're like, yeah, you want to make more of that happen.
A good question to ask yourself is what you did as a kid between the ages of about 8 and 14 for fun. And there's this story where one of the world's best color pickers, so she's a lady who gets chosen by these huge fashion brands and interior design companies to go and create the perfect palette of complementing colors. So like this green with this purple with this yellow or whatever.
Do you think did she create millennium? What's it called? Millennial pink or something? Like there was this pink that was like everywhere for a few years.
Famous pink.
There's a famous, like any chick listening to this knows exactly. Yeah. Sometimes it's like, it'll be all over someone's Instagram feed. It's like this really like light blush pink, whatever. It was like very hot for a few years.
Interesting. Yeah, no. So she got interviewed and the people said, what is it about your background? Why are you so good? Why are you the world's best color picker? What are your qualifications? So, well, basically, I've never been formally trained in this. But when I was 10, my parents got me the biggest Crayola set of pencils that you can buy. Aww. And I used every single one of them down to the end. And that's basically it. Like, what are the things that you do? So for me, I'm an only child. So I spent a lot of time listening to like audio tapes, like storybooks when I was a kid and playing because I didn't have no one to play with. So I'd be playing.
Chris, I know. Friends.
I know. Yeah, nothing changed.
And, I would set up my animals like we're all at a club together.
So you've been listening to a storybook and then roll it forward 20 years. What's a modern day version of a storybook now? It's a podcast. It's like a choose your own adventure book that's going on the internet. So yeah, I think that's a good place for people to start. Here's one thing actually that I wanted to ask you about. So I've got I'm giving my first public talk this Saturday.
Yes, your TED Talk.
Yes, correct. What are the biggest mistakes in terms of stage presence that you see new comedians making?
Okay. For sure.
I'm aware that I'm not giving like comedy thing, but I'm going to guess the principles will probably be the same.
I know for me, like, what has tripped me up in the past, I know that like, if I make a conscious effort, like I'm always, even though I've been doing stand-up like 10 plus years, I'm always nervous before a show, but like, it's almost like not quite a meditation, but like do whatever you have to do to feel, you feel so incredible, feel as good as you can before you step on the stage. That way you're starting out, like whatever you need to do to get to mentally the most Chrissie place, like you're basically like, get ready to sell whatever it is, yourself, your set, charm the pants off of this crowd, like get to your I try to get to my Chrissiest space, which means 1 drink, not 2, because I don't want to be too loose. And just charge yourself up, like get to your place, like happy place, like why am I doing this? And also it's a lot of self-talk too. It's like, this crowd is here. They want to have a good time. They're already fans of me. Like this is already a success because I've got a crowd full of people here to see me. They want to have a good time. Just help them have a good time. Like if you see somebody who's just a little locked in and a little frozen over, like try to melt them and just, not take it too seriously, but just be so focused on fun. Like I am here to make this fun and like bring joy. So it's like whatever you have to do to like get everything to the surface, like get it all right here. And then it could come out like a little bit easier. But if like, and we all like, I have so many days where I wake up in like a mopey, depressed, like, everything's down, right? Everything's like,
do you fear that? So let's say that you wake up that morning and you've got a show that night. Are you like, oh shit, like I've got some work to do to get myself into the place I need to be?
For sure. Like if I have a big show coming up, like, yeah, I'll spend time like listening to old sets, remembering the parts that people laugh at. Sometimes it's rewriting a whole set and then I'll underline the lines that usually get laughs. So it's like, if anything, you just remember the underlined phrases or words. And then sometimes if I'm doing like a long set, I'll bring like a small card up, like an index card with just like a word represents each joke, or like a small phrase, that way you're at least giving yourself a safety net. Like in case you completely blank out, you can just be like, oh, just do one of these things. And oftentimes like the set is never this like linear. I'll jump around a lot. And the most perfect sets are the ones where like I think of my material as kind of like a word bank. And then the crowd in front of you is like, that like my job is to basically like weave this quilt between the crowd and my material, and you keep going back and forth in a way that delivers like this totally unique experience, and they think, oh wow, like that joke about the dead parent was like for me because I'd raised my hand because my mom just died, and like holy shit, like the crowd walks away thinking this is a really personalized experience, and then I feel good because it does that thing that I mentioned before where it makes all your shit fresh and like fresh for yourself. So, and I think a lot of that, I'll do that. I'll get there. But if I get on stage feeling good already, it's quicker to get to that place. So if I bring my mopiness on stage, like I'll just drag in the beginning, and it's, and in the worst sets, that sort of energy drags maybe in, I don't know, 15 minutes into your set or something. It all depends. Like, it's like you want to be as prepared as you can be. And I think once I'm as prepared as I can be, then it's like I can just focus on having fun. Like, you don't even step on stage being like, I think I remember my points, like at that point, it's almost like it's too late for that. Like, just have fun and be as present as you possibly can. And like just look and listen into the crowd for weird, like a little hiccup or a weird noise or someone shouting out. I don't know if that answers your question. It's like this perfect balance of being prepared and being so obsessed with the present moment and feeling good that you can't help but deliver your best self, I guess.
I wrote an email newsletter on Sunday that was all about the link between preparation and confidence. So what I think a lot of people mean when they say that they don't feel confident, like if we let's talk about what confidence means, right? What they mean is, or what someone says when they feel unconfident. I don't know that my performance will meet the requirements, the performance required of me. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the thing that I'm being asked to do. Like if you're about to step into the ring with Conor McGregor, quite rightly, you might feel unconfident because you're going to get your head smashed in. But conversely, if you're going to wash the dishes, confidence doesn't even figure because you've done it a million times before and you're confident that you're going to be able to perform at the level that's required to you. So what I realized was I would usually be cacking my pants, full on nervousness, cacking right now. And I'm not. And I'm trying to work out why. And it's because I could give you 2,853 words, front to back, side to side. I can do it in reverse order. I can do it in. I've nailed the speech down. It's completely locked into my mind. I had my hair cut today, and I was giving it to the hairdresser while she was cutting my hair. Just sat down while doing that. So now I don't feel any nerves at all. I feel really confident, but the confidence is only born out of preparation, which is what you just said there. That a lot of the time, because we use the word confident and extroversion and charisma and outgoing, people use these words interchangeably, but extroversion is a personality trait, 50% or more of which is genetic and 50%, less than 50% of which is environmental. If confidence is born of preparation, what people think is that it's something that they're supposed to be given. They just think, oh, well, you either are confident or you're not. It's something that's like innate. It's in your source code. But confidence isn't given, it's earned.
Right.
It's the sort of thing that you need to put the reps in on over and over and over and over again. You have to earn the right to be confident. And sure enough, there are some people who feel less nervous than others, but that's not because they've got any more preparation. That's simply because they don't notice the nervousness. They're no more confident, they're just less nervous. So yeah, when people hear themselves saying I don't feel very confident about X. If you to change that sentence into I'm unprepared for X, or I
Oh,
don't feel very
fuck. Yeah.
prepared for X, then it changes the locus of control. The locus of control of I don't feel confident for is there's something in me or kind of in the world or in a relationship between me and the world that's insufficient. Like I wasn't blessed with the right blend of whatever's that I need to do this thing. Whereas when you say, I feel unprepared for this thing, it's all on you, which makes you feel in control. It reminds you, and it's uncomfortable, but it gives you the control. So yeah, I'm not nervous, oddly enough. I might be cacking my pants on Saturday morning before I'm about to go to the studio and record it, but I've prepared, so I feel okay.
Yeah. And that's so true. I think back to anything I was like cocky and confident about, and it was something that I put in insane reps on. Like I was a really good springboard diver as a kid, which gave me like so much confidence for life, but it's all I did. It was like 3 hours a day from like the age of 11 through 21. So it's like, yeah, I fucking hope I was good, you know? And like just this past weekend with snowboarding, I finally gotten like a good flow. And I was like, yeah, I was like being confident. I'm like talking shit suddenly. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is what happens. I'm there. I'm feeling good. I'm like,
Because you deserved it. Because
yeah.
you prepared.
And it's nice. It's like the more you can step away from like a victim, I am a victim of my circumstances. I'm a victim of how I was born or my genetics or whatever. It's like so much is in your control that you don't realize. Like be so focused on what you can control that you forget about what you can't control. And it's exactly what you said. When you say I'm unprepared, it's almost like a magical yellow brick road unrolls before you. And it's like all you have to do is walk this path, the path of getting prepared. You don't have to think about like, oh, I have to go in front of a mirror and fucking, like tell myself mantras, although that can help too. But it's like I don't have to, you're kind of everywhere, right? When you're feeling unconfident and you're feeling like you're just it's more chaotic when you just narrow it down to like being all right. Well, what do I have to do to prepare for this thing? All right, I got to memorize this speech or this set list, and then it's like. And then at the end of that, I'm like, man, all I had to do was focus on this. It took less time than I thought it would to like get to this prepared place.
You can hear it. You can almost hear the anxiety sometimes. It's like when you get another bad email and a day of bad emails and you're like, oh my God, like just how am I going to do it? And you can feel that overwhelm in front of you. But yeah, you're totally right. If you just break it down, what have you got to do? What are you going to do what would a confident person do in this situation? Okay, they'd probably just read the script again and learn the jokes again or learn the TED talk again or get the next sentence or the next stanza or whatever. They just get that. And yeah, it's cool. Like it's the first time that I've done something new in quite a while. And it's super rewarding to do something that's challenging and new and you didn't know if you were going to be able to do it. And then you go through the process and you must get this as well when remembering sets. I haven't had to rote like specific word by word memorize something in fucking forever. But it's so mad watching the memory blocks in your own brain build. It's so crazy because you're like, right, I've got this big 7.5 sheet thing with all these words on. And 4 weeks ago, I didn't know any of the words. And you watch yourself learn it word by word and then sentence by sentence and then paragraph by paragraph. It's so mad to watch the way that your brain makes those formations. And the coolest thing about that is that's physical changes going on in the brain. That's new connections, new synapses joining together. It doesn't feel like it because we can't see it, but it's the mental equivalent of going to the gym, but being able to grow like another bicep in the space of like a month or something. You're making physical changes when it happens. And I haven't had to do that in ages. And seeing it, observing it happen was like fascinating. I really enjoyed it.
It's like learning a long, like choreographed dance. It's like how you memorize like each little part.
You must do that with your sets though, right?
Honestly, like my sets are more like it's a lot of like back brain, like old jokes that I've memorized. Like I could be a lot more diligent about it, honestly. Like so much of it is like the magic of the moment and fucking with the crowd and talking to people and like, what do you do? And like it's like crowd work is it's a lot of little risks. And the comics who don't do crowd work, I think it's because like they're afraid to like let go of control. Because if you have your jokes that you know always work, and you're like, well, I'll put that aside to just like play with the crowd. Well, that it could not work out. It could not be funny. It could fall flat. It could be like, fuck, I don't have any jokes about plumbing. And this guy's a plumber. Well, let's move on. Goddamn. So, what was the point of bringing that up? Yeah, is a lot of times I can sort of like muscle through a set because I just remember so many jokes, but it's always more fun and magical if I'm like really present and really obsessed with feeling good, and like just being like fun is like just pouring out of me. Like just jack yourself up, like be the most entertaining version of yourself, like party Chrissie, you know. But as far as like rookie moves on stage to not do is like, yeah, like take the mic out of the thing and move the mic stand over. That's like number one. Have water on, and then maybe, yeah, you'll have your little like set list or like points, you know, in case you, but you're not even at the point where you would even spaz and forget because it's all mapped on your speech.
Yeah, I imagine that there must be some awful opening sets from comedians because they haven't got that stuff locked down. But it's the same as anything. If you do it enough times, then you're just going to continue to get better and better. But again, with that, like that's just preparation. Like people want to go and play football for the first time or soccer. They want to go and do that and then feel like they're competent having not spent enough time doing it. So if you put the hours in, I think you've got the right to be confident. It's earned, not given.
And so your speech, this will be a TED Talk that people can go listen to.
TEDx Talk, yeah. So it'll be on the TEDx YouTube in a month or so. It's really weird because there's no live audiences. Like the UK is still basically the same as we were a year ago. Gyms are shut, clubs are shut, restaurants are shut, cafes are shut. So hearing you do your intro and being like, and I'm going to be in Tampa, and I'm going to be in this thing, I'm going to be in that thing. I'm like, what is this, 2017? Like, what's going on? Do you not know there's a pandemic happening? And yeah, it's weird over here at the moment. Gyms haven't been open since November, basically. I flew out to Dubai, like every other Instagram influencer. I flew out to Dubai to escape lockdown for a bit. And yeah, it's so weird. It's going to be super bizarre when the world reopens. And because the UK has been in complete lockdown for maybe 8 months out of the last 12, something like that. And
wow.
Yeah, it's serious. So
and your restaurants, are your restaurants just like all takeout at this point?
Yeah, so like Delivery. Uber Eats or Deliveroo only. You can actually go and sort of order, but it's only one person in at a time. No gyms are open. Supermarkets have reduced opening hours. Yeah, it's not been a fun year to be someone in the UK. But on the flip side of that, there's other stuff that you're able to do, like, you know, I don't know, that we were talking about the Blitz spirit. It was like, you know, your grandparents had to live through World War II and the bombing of London. And that does like sort of create a nice contrast effect. But after 8 months, the lesson, I've already learned that lesson. I've already learned about that. I don't need to learn it for another 7 months.
I know the feeling, and I'm so excited. Like I haven't had this many dates since last March when I tried to have a tour, and I just came back from Dallas, Texas a couple weeks ago, and I was there right for all these blackouts, but I was still like so thrilled and hyped to be like, oh, I actually traveled somewhere. I'm doing shows. The shows went great. And so with the US, like there's some states that are more like lax and opening up and better than us. New York, where I live now, is still like shut down and a shithole, and like clubs are gonna supposedly start opening April 2nd. So that's exciting. So we'll see. It's interesting. I've learned so much about the US, like where I would live other than New York, like what areas are cool, what governors suck, what governors are chill. So that's been good. And it's like, yeah, my overall feeling about the lockdown is like, yeah, I don't know. I'm like, you think of a flute, you know, you're used to playing a flute. All the buttons are at your disposal. But for a year, it's like, okay, these 4 notes have been down. So this is the only place to get air out, which is nice because you can learn, all right, I'm really just focusing on these holes, which are maybe podcasting. I opened a new hole. This is terrible. This is a terrible metaphor, but
Tell us about your holes, Chrissie. Come
on. There's 3, 4. I don't know. So I don't know. My mouth is one. I guess.
Yeah, that's 3.
Okay. Well, down there, I think there's 3. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't been there. I haven't been down there in a while. But what's good about the lockdown, it's like it's turned a lot of things down. And I think when things are down, there's always opportunity in a shit time. So hopefully. And if you're watching this, you're probably someone who's worked on something during the lockdown. This was really interesting. Wow. Are you sober, by the way? I noticed you have a 6-month sober course.
Yeah, so I'm a club promoter, but I decided about 2.5 years ago to stop drinking just to see what would happen. I wasn't a massive drinker in any case, but I just thought the first time I did it was about 5 years ago now, and I just did 6 months without alcohol and found everything got better. So
really,
yeah, well, I mean, I wonder how much of it is because of the industry that I come from, right? Like being sober or being asked to go out on a night out for fun as a club promoter is a lot like being a porn star and getting home from a long, hard day at work and your partner asking if you fancy to fuck. Like it's what you do for fun is what I do for work. And having been a professional party boy for 10 years, even drinking infrequently, maybe once a fortnight, like going hard, like fully sending it, but only sending it once every couple of weeks. I was just like, look, I'm going to take a break. I took a break. I thought it was awesome. I went back to drinking and missed sobriety. So I had another break. And then I'm now 2.5 years, nearly 3 years into this stint of it. I would have broken it probably last summer because I've learned kind of everything I think I need to from sobriety for now. But then given the fact that there's literally nothing to do, what am I going to do? Break my sobriety of 1,000 days by drinking in the house? Like I'm obviously not going to do that. But when the world reopens and we can go back out and socialize and stuff, I will do that. But I strongly, strongly recommend anyone who hasn't tried going sober for a little bit. Like, even if you don't think that drinking's that big of a deal, a ton of my buddies did it. One of them said, do you know what it is, man? I always thought I was a bad sleeper. I always thought I was a really poor sleeper. It turned out that I was just half cut every night when I went to bed.
Wow.
He used to have a couple of glasses of wine with dinner with his missus. It's like a young professional guy who works as an accountant. His wife likes wine and he likes wine. So he'd have a couple of glasses per night and then maybe a bottle on a weekend. So he hasn't slept. He's had a couple of nights per month sober sleep for like decades or like years or whatever. And it's mad. Like, think if you came into this world and someone sort of sat you down as a baby before you entered and were like, right, okay, so here's what's going to happen. You're going to do this and you'll need to be upright, walk on your feet. You sort of make these mouth noises with this hole in the front of your head and then other people can understand you and blah, blah, blah. And also sort of maybe the age 16, 17, 18, something like that. You're going to start taking this drug, right? It's going to make you fat. It's going to make you hungover the next day. You're going to kind of hate your life. You're going to crave awful food. You're going to be unproductive. It might shorten your life. And you're going to take it more frequently than once every 2 weeks from that day until the day that you die. Like, wow. That's what a lot of people's lives in the West are like, right? Like, they're just constantly taking one step forward and one step back every weekend because that's the thing that gives them meaning. So I wanted to break that. And yeah, anyone that's listening, just try it. Try 28 days. Go sober for 4 weeks and see how much better you feel.
Maybe I'll try it. I'm inspired. Because I'm always like, sometimes that's the worst when you have a drink and you're like, I don't need to have this. But I do love wine. And then that's the thing is like, I'll really want like a vodka soda if I'm like at a club or like getting ready before a show, like to get myself chill. Like if I'm too jacked up.
If it's a performance enhancer, I can imagine as well, especially if you're really excited and you love your job and you're about to go out on stage and you're all hyperactive and sort of ready to go. I actually imagine that something to bring you down a little bit is probably pretty useful. So that, or taking a drink or having some weed or whatever it might be, might just take that hyperactive edge off.
Sometimes it's really good. Sometimes it just shakes off that little like blanket of anxiety that I'll have. Like, it's just like, it's that one drink that like lets your body know like, okay, it's not all so serious, you know? But yeah, I definitely, maybe I'll try a month without.
You can get a lot done. You can get a lot done without hangovers in your life.
And I rarely drink to the point of being like bombed and hungover. I'll just have like a couple because I'm definitely like a 2 beer queer. But then, I like that you said fully sending it. I can't imagine like, right. Yeah. If you're drinking till 4, whew. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And you have an ultimate life hacks list, which people can download from your
they
website.
can. So if you want to, we do life hacks on my podcast. And if you want to find out 200 ways that you can upgrade your life instantly for free, chriswillx.com/lifehacks. It's everything that we went through. It's why you should buy a dog, how to make a perfect toasted sandwich, like just tons of random stuff that we did. And then if you watch the episodes as well, they kind of go along, it goes along with the episodes. So it's just a list of all the different stuff, the best type of training shoes that we found, the best type of productivity software that we use. It's good. It's fun.
I love it. And Chris, where can people find you, follow you, support you other than following you on Chris Will X on IG and Twitter?
That's it. Those are the 2 places
That's
I'm
it.
most active. And then if you listen to podcasts like this one and you want to listen to more of me talking, well, actually, there's less of me talking on my show. If you want to hear less of me talking, search Modern Wisdom and wherever you listen, and that'll come up. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, etc., etc.
Awesome. Chris, thank you so much for coming on. This was a great chat. It was a great chat.
Thank you.
Bye.